Good evening, everybody in the XRP community. Good morning, good afternoon. Just as a reminder, this is not financial advice, and I am not your financial advisor. This is just me looking up things on the internet and trying to make connections here. I was not planning on doing a video today, and I'm not going to do a video on RIA because I'm sure that's been regurgitated about 30 times today. So this is 10 seconds on RIA because I think it's important, and then we'll get into the meat here and some of the info that I found that was very interesting based off of some of the other things that I found today. So if you aren't aware, Belgian Postal Service Group, 600 post offices partnered with RIA Money Transfer today. RIA Money Transfer is RippleNet. RIA Money Transfer is also a subsidiary of Euronet Worldwide. RIA is pretty friggin' huge, but you can see Ripple partners with them. Great. Let's get into this here. I found a document today from the Taiwan Depository and Clearing Corporation, and I'll call them the TDCC, pulled a quote from what I have found out is a PricewaterhouseCoopers document from 2015. In one 2020 scenario, blockchain, e.g. via Ripple, becomes the default protocol with hedge funds as early adopters. Now, somebody asked me to find this link, and I had already lost it, so I did that search again, and I found this, and this is from Strategy and I came to later find out that Strategy is actually a small portion of PwC. So they are actually, I don't want to say a subsidiary, but they're a part of PricewaterhouseCoopers. If you don't know, PricewaterhouseCoopers is a giant as far as consulting is concerned. And I posted all this. I'll go through this real quick, and I'll touch base on what I actually found here. Hedge funds becoming FX market makers on RippleNet. This is from 2015, so this is older. Ripple provides interbank payments for real-time settlement. We know that. This is in one 2020 scenario. This is the same quote from before. Blockchain, e.g. via Ripple, or for example, via Ripple, becomes a default protocol with hedge funds as early adopters. Now, this is interesting here, and this is kind of my belief is this first paragraph here. And this isn't even the main focus of this video. I feel like it gets a little bit bigger than this, but blockchain becomes default protocol for cross-border payments and frontier/exotic FX transactions. Hedge funds are early adopters and become market makers on the platform. Swift use declines. And this is really interesting because we know how big the derivatives market is. As platform gains acceptance as a cheaper alternative, AMs adopt blockchain for bilateral trading of alternatives, e.g., or for example, over-the-counter derivatives and private equity. Okay, great. So I posted all this today, and then I went back and I'm like, well, who is WFC? I've never heard of WFC before. I don't know what they are. Could not find a company, and we'll get into that here in a second, though, of just who WFC is and kind of how all this stuff ties together. So this is the full document, this Strategy with PricewaterhouseCoopers here. And Strategy is what you can see here. They are the global strategy consulting team for PricewaterhouseCoopers. So they are deeply embedded and part of the company, which I did not know earlier today. I'm glad that I looked that up. So that whole document is from the global strategy consulting team at PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is why you see both names on that document. Now, I started looking into WFC. Here's who WFC is. WFC is a conglomerate, and it's the Global Conference of Central Securities Depositories. So if anybody else has anything to argue this fact, please feel free to follow up on this. But I have a little bit more about WFC here. So the World Forum of CSDs, Central Securities Depositories, represents the CSD industry, and it comprises 5 regional CSD associations from across the globe. The forum aims to exchange information, examine and discuss issues of common interest, and increase the influence and engagement on cross-regional and global developments, as well as provide a common voice on issues relevant to the various associations and their members. The WFC is represented by a board of 10 members. being the chairs and vice chairs of each of the 5 regional associations, representing over 125 member CSDs internationally, as follows. The Asia Pacific Central Securities Depository Group, the Americas Central Securities Depository Association, the Association of Eurasian Central Securities Depositories, the Africa and Middle East Depositories Association, and the European Central Securities Depositories Association. Now, if you're not deep into like the researching and stuff like that for XRP and Ripple, the operating committee, the working groups, the reports, and the biennial ISSA symposia have proven to be important means for sharing knowledge and information between parties. I have seen many documents from ISSA, or I shouldn't say many, some documents, and even very recently that have mentioned Ripple. I believe that is ISSA. So I'm going to keep going here, though. Which tab am I on? So these are the Central Securities Depositories. Oh, shit. We're on an ISSA document right now, so there you go. I didn't even realize that. So this is, again, just showing you kind of who they are here. And another one here. These are some different links here that kind of give you who they are. WFC comments on new global cyber guidance. And we get a little bit deeper into this here in a second. This is just kind of an overview of what central securities depositories are. I feel like it's necessary to go over. So a central securities depository is a specialist financial organization holding securities such as shares, either in certificated or uncertificated form, so that ownership can be easily transferred through a book entry rather than the transfer of physical certificates. This allows brokers and financial companies to hold their securities at one location where they can be available for clearing and settlement. This is usually done electronically, making it much faster and easier than it was traditionally the case, where physical certificates had to be exchanged after a trade had been completed. I think it talks about DTCC in here a little bit, but all right, I want to move on because there is some really interesting stuff in this. Now, here's what I found extremely interesting here. So when you pull up this document here, okay, from Strategy and, which we now know is a portion of PricewaterhouseCoopers, right? I always neglect to remember what the actual website that this is originating from is. This particular website that this is originating from is nsd.ru, which, after looking into this, is the National Securities Depository of Russia. And it always is so weird to me that, let me see if it's on here. Yeah, here we go. Come on, baby, translate for me. About company. It's always interesting to me because, like, I was actually, like, I found a couple of things about the NSD of Russia earlier this week, and I was going to make a video about that, and then I kind of postponed it based on the findings today. But I'm going to tie all that in together, I guess, because they do have ties with a joint platform through SBI. And so National Settlement Depository of Russia, which was on this... that's on their website still, it looks like it. And this is this technology challenges and opportunities. And this is the whole thing where I posted here. Hedge funds becoming FX market makers on Ripple, all that stuff. This is on National Security Depository of Russia's website still. National Settlement Depository is one of the key companies in the Russian financial infrastructure, possessing the status of the central depository of the Russian Federation. NSD provides services for securities provided for by the federated law or federal law on central depository, as well as other Russian and foreign equity securities. I will let you guys dig deeper into that. I'm not going to. I think all this stuff kind of speaks for itself a little bit. We can just see how far. Again, this is like not guaranteeing that XRP is going to do anything. I don't make price predictions. I don't talk about price very often. I have in my own mind where it's going to go, but I see all these new initiatives with CBDCs and all this stuff, and yeah, I know for a fact that those are going to be a thing within the next 3 to 5 years, maybe even this year we see one. But you just get to see how far along Ripple is and who Ripple is being mentioned and what big players are actually. All these people are talking about Ripple. It's in the freaking document. They're at this conference between the international central securities depository friggin' institutions or whatever they are, and that's who they've been tied in with since like 2015. So now this is interesting. This ties in with the NSD, the National Securities Depository of Russia. This also ties in SBI. This ties in MHFG as well. Members of the R3 consortium have launched several projects to trial different blockchain solutions, but there is yet to have been a project led by a Japanese company. MHFG and SBI will work in close collaboration with R3 to launch a joint project for trialing blockchain technology and to try to promote the application of this technology to financial services. First step, MHFG and SBI trial international remittances using Ripple Connect, cross-currency settlement technology from Ripple Labs, a US-based company in which SBI is a major investor. We plan to complete this set of trials, which we have dubbed the quote-unquote Sora project, SORA, by the end of the year. So I want you to keep Sora project in mind here, okay? Now I want to get into this here. If you look up Sora project here, Sora is the same thing as D3 Ledger. It's all tied in together. D3 Ledger services here. D3 Ledger is zero settlement risk, exchange traded settlement, token generation. I think it probably talks about no longer available for this. But funny enough, they just released a Vimeo video like 3 days ago or a week ago, which I was going to talk about. I love the 404 things. Hyperledger Iroha. Here we go. D3 Ledger. And this ties into some of the posts that I have here too. The framework for D3 Ledger was developed by established financial players in collaboration with Hyperledger Iroha developer Soramitsu, right? Now you get into here, application filed by Soramitsu for an information sharing system, and talks about Ripple a decent amount in here. They've got a good amount of Ripple examples in here. So this is an actual patent that they're trying to get passed through D3 Ledger, which now we know is tied in with Sora. And they get into biometrics here. Method related to transaction based on personal identification using biological information. Now here's kind of where it ties in together a little bit here. So D3, which is the D3 Ledger here, the D3 Ledger customer can change a D3 Ledger partner, and I apologize if your dog's barking. My dogs just started barking. That handles their transactions at any time, or use the service from several partners at once. And we've been talking about interoperability. I hope that I've made it clear that I believe that interoperability is key to all of this. D3 network nodes. And here we go. Ethereum, Ripple network nodes, and then they've got blockchain network 1, 2, 3. So we can see now, this is through their white paper from last year, that Ripple can connect to D3 Ledger. Swiss regulated financial market, Russian regulated financial market, fiat currency and assets, USA regulated crypto market. This is all going to be tied in together, ladies and gentlemen. Every single thing is going to be interoperable here. Now we get into this here. This is D3 Ledger as well. Soramitsu, so Soramitsu, which we just said Sora, the Sora project, right? And NSD, a member of the Moscow Stock Exchange Group, have developed a decentralized digital securities custody transfer platform and are piloting cryptocurrency and other custody services for cryptocurrencies for institutional investors. Soramitsu and the NSD. And what is the NSD again? The NSD is the National Settlement Depository of Russia. And who was this paper presented to back in 2015 at this symposium? All the national settlement depositories, or at least the big 5, which I'm sure have their subsidiaries, which are smaller, And what website is this on here? This is on the National Settlement Depository of Russia's website. So we can see all this stuff tying in together. It's absolutely, it's kind of ridiculous. I don't know where any of this stuff goes at this point. At this point, I'm just continuing to tie things together because at some point, my hope is that I can look back on all this crazy deep dive rabbit hole research and like be able to be like, okay, well, I was right about that, or okay, I was wrong about that. I think, and like, again, not financial advice here, but I think that even if we're 10% right about anything that, at least anything that I believe is going to happen, that it's going to be absolutely huge. So I will link all this stuff. I hope you all enjoyed this video. There was a lot to cover here. If you have questions, please feel free to ask, and I will definitely try to answer as best as I can. So, hey, thank you, everybody, and I really appreciate the support. So have a good night.